If you're looking to improve your performance with volleyball on the court, off the court, improve your recovery times, just become a better, more effective athlete overall, then we need to talk about the role that nutrition, hydration, and supplementation plays in becoming a good volleyball athlete. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive into a lot of things that I recommend on those fronts and hopefully give you guys some good information that you can use to take your volleyball game to the next level. Really quick, my name is Greg. I go by the Volleyball Strength Coach. I train volleyball athletes all the way up from 12 years old up to the professional level for beach and for indoor, and I train athletes online and in person. I've been playing volleyball for over 20 years myself and even played up to the Division I level in college. And now I am a strength conditioning coach, and I have been for over 10 years, and I work specifically with volleyball athletes only. And really quick, before we get into this, I am not a registered dietitian. I am not a doctor. I am a certified nutrition coach. But if you're really struggling with nutrition, or if you want the best information on nutrition, go find a registered dietitian to work with. Reach out to them, find someone, ideally a sports dietitian. I'm here to just give you advice based on my experience and my personal experience, my experience working with clients. But I am not a registered dietitian. If you want better information, go talk to one of them. As we get into this, we just have to kind of define some terms and make sure that we're on the same page and that you understand everything that we're talking about when we get into these. So the first thing is the term macronutrients. And if you don't know what macronutrients are, those are essentially carbs, fat, and protein. It's basically the things that we consume that have calories. When you hear people say the word macros, that's what they are talking about. There's also something called micronutrients, which is things like vitamins and minerals. We'll get into a little bit of that today, but just want to make sure that we're on the same page with what these terms are. So the first macronutrient is carbohydrates, also called carbs. And this is going to be one of the most important things that you need for energy and overall performance for volleyball. So carbohydrates are your main fuel source for short to medium term exercise, which a lot of volleyball is just repetitive, short to medium term duration of exercise. And it's very important that you have an adequate intake of carbohydrates so you can perform to the highest level for this. Carbohydrate sources would be things like fruit, rice, oatmeal, pasta, like these type of carb sources that are going to provide you with energy. And I'll give you some examples of my favorite ones as we go. But like I said, this is your short-term energy. This is some of your more explosive energy when you're, in a single game or point by point. This is the major fuel source you're using to be athletic in these events. For the most part, the most successful athletes in this type of kind of energy expenditure are going to be ones that eat a high carbohydrate diet. So just some general timing and amount recommendations for carbs. For the most part, for the average athlete, you just want to eat balanced meals all throughout the day. So each meal should have some carbs, some fat, some protein, and probably some veggies. Unless you're a really high level athlete or you're getting really down detailed into like a deep, just cutting phase of your nutrition, you can just stay balanced throughout the day, highly recommended. But I do recommend a good amount of carbohydrates before you go do your practice or your tournament or even your lift. So within an hour or 2 hours of the event, just eat a full, complete meal, just a regular meal. But then what I like to do is either directly on the way or directly before, eat an additional amount of carbohydrates of something that is a more simple carbohydrate source, so basically more sugary. And if we're really looking at recovery, so say you have another match later or you're at a 2-day tournament and you have another match the next day, you have to make sure that you're refueling with carbs to get that energy back into your system. If you're someone who at tournaments, maybe you play a little bit worse throughout the day, or you just don't feel ready from one match to the next or one day to the next, then there's a chance that you haven't eaten enough carbohydrates to refuel the stores you need to perform at your highest level. So a few examples that I really like, these are just personally from what I eat. Before I play volleyball, I really like to eat an oatmeal bowl. So it's oats, blueberries, chia seeds, hemp seeds, honey, and peanut butter. And I will eat that before pretty much every single time I play volleyball, whether it's in the morning for 6 a.m. practice, if it's a tournament, it's the first thing I eat, and sometimes I bring another one of those with me, or if I'm just going to, a later league match or something like that later in the day, I will always eat that before I go play. Another go-to for me is bananas and just fruit in general. I mentioned blueberries already. You kind of want to stay on the lower fiber side of fruits directly before you play. I think bananas are known to be one of the most amazing fuel sources for athletes directly before athletic events. So a lot of times I'll have my oatmeal bowl ahead of time, and then even on the way or when I get to volleyball, I will have a banana ready and just eat that then. A go-to tournament fuel for me is rice cakes with peanut butter and honey. And then I recently also started doing rice cakes with peanut butter and jelly, where again, we're just getting carbs into the system. And that's something that I'll eat on like tournament days, local tournaments where you're playing 4, 5, 6 matches a day. That's a great in between that I use all the time. Next thing we're going to talk about is protein, and protein is how your muscles are going to recover from anything that you do, weightlifting, volleyball, these type of things that require your body to fix itself. So for the most part, anything you can touch on your body is made of protein. And obviously that includes your muscles and, things like your tendons. And so we need to make sure that we're getting an adequate protein intake so our body has the units it needs to rebuild things like our muscles or, our skins or whatever. If we have an injury, we have to be able to physically rebuild our bodies, and we need to intake protein to do that. So again, the main role of this from a volleyball perspective is recovery. We do want to eat a pretty high amount of protein to make sure we are recovering from a bunch of volleyball and a bunch of weight training. You don't want to eat protein directly before some kind of athletic event. Even for some reason, people are still doing protein shakes and protein bars like right before they go to do something athletic like lift or something like that, thinking that it's like giving them some kind of energy or some kind of recovery, but you're just not going to adequately digest that through a workout. And it's really just going to kind of sit in your gut, maybe not make you feel so great until later when you can be a bit more relaxed. So you want to eat protein at a time when it's okay that you can, be relaxed, not going and doing some kind of athletic event. You do want to keep this, for the most part, like carbs, spread pretty well throughout your day, but definitely try to get a high amount of protein right after you do your workout or whatever your athletic event is. But just for the sake of satiation and staying full and just health in general, it is the most beneficial, technically, to eat pretty balanced throughout the day. So my go-to examples for this, I eat a combination of eggs and egg whites basically every day. This is going to be things like chicken, fish, red meat. All of these type of things are going to be your protein sources, like animal-based proteins. Obviously, there's some vegetarian-based options as well. The best options for protein are just the animal-based options, and that's based on bioavailability, digestibility, the amount of total food you need to consume to get your protein in. And then if you need to, like if you just can't eat the amount of protein you need, you're struggling with that, you can supplement with protein shakes or protein bars, assuming that they are high quality and something that your body can digest adequately. A lot of times with like cheap protein sources, people struggle to properly digest them. And last of the 3 macronutrients is fat. And fat is going to be beneficial for 2 reasons. One, it is your long duration energy sources. So for certain things like really long volleyball matches or just long days of volleyball in general, you're going to be tapping into some of the fat that you consume to be used as energy for this. And we're not going to get into all of the physiology of how we do that, but just know fat is going to be good for long-term energy production. And that's what we use. Once we kind of get to the point where we can use fat for energy because it takes longer to kind of break down the fat cells and utilize it, then we do that. The other thing it's really important for is hormones. A lot of our hormones are based on, they're a base of something like cholesterol. For example, testosterone. You need to consume cholesterol to be able to produce testosterone accurately. So if you're eating too low of fat, then you're not going to be consuming enough cholesterol to produce testosterone, and that's going to cause issues. So a lot of our hormones are fat-based, and we need to make sure we're getting just a good intake of fat to be able to produce those adequately. Just like carbs are not something to be afraid of, fat is also not something to be afraid of. Fat source is going to matter. We don't want to be eating a bunch of fried foods, but in general, fat is not something that, eating fat will not make you fat, or eating cholesterol will not give you high cholesterol. You have to consume these things for our body to just work properly. They just need to be in the correct amounts. So overall, like I said at the beginning, from a performance perspective, from a recovery perspective, your nutrition is one of the most important things you need to focus on. Okay, so if you have just been able to get away with having a mediocre nutrition, or if you just aren't sure why your performance is suffering or aren't sure why your recovery is suffering, take some time, track your calories, see where you're at, track your food, and then we can make some changes from there based on the guidelines that I said earlier. And hopefully you'll find something along the lines that really sticks out to you as something you can change to just improve your performance and improve your recovery in the long run. And really quick, make sure you hit the like button on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I'm just going to keep putting out good content like this through the channel. And make sure you follow me on other social medias. It's at Volleyball Strength Coach on Instagram and at Volleyball SC on TikTok. Make sure you follow me on there because I'm putting out content basically every day.